7. Rare dark signs appear only at the edge of enlightenment. Have you ever stood at the edge of something so vast, so incomprehensibly beautiful and terrifying that your entire being trembled, not in fear, but in awe? That's what it feels like to approach the edge of enlightenment. We often talk about the light, awakening, bliss, peace, but what no one tells you is that before the light fully embraces you, there is a darkness so rare, so precise in its design that most people turn back, not because they aren't ready, but because they mistake the darkness for failure. They think something's gone wrong, but what if I told you that these dark signs are not the end, but the final gate? That to be swallowed by the void is not to be lost, but to be remade. I didn't believe this at first. Like most seekers, I was chasing only the light. I meditated for hours, fasted, read every sacred text, sat with monks, even lived in isolation. Yet, one night, after weeks of silence in an ancient temple carved into a cliffside, something cracked. Not outside, but inside. It felt like my identity was slipping through my fingers, like I was dissolving, and in that moment I encountered the first dark sign, the collapse of meaning. You might feel it too, maybe right now. You wake up and everything that once gave you purpose feels hollow. The career, the relationships, the goals, even the spiritual practices, all of it feels like dust. This isn't depression, this is sacred disillusionment. It's the universe stripping away your illusions, not to harm you, but to prepare you. Because truth doesn't live in comfort. It lives where everything false has burned away. But how do you keep going when nothing makes sense? When your inner compass goes silent?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
This is where you must ask yourself the question very few dare to face. If I am not this body, not these thoughts, not even this story, then what am I? Don't rush to answer it. Let it haunt you. Let it unravel you. Because in that unraveling, a deeper self is born. Most turn back here. They seek the comfort of old beliefs, but you are still here, and that means something. As you continue, you may encounter the second rare dark sign, the arrival of the inner adversary. This isn't a demon in the traditional sense. It's subtler. It's the voice that whispers, "You're wasting your time. You'll never be enough. This is all a fantasy." And here's the twist. That voice is you. It's the part of your ego that senses its own death. It doesn't want to die quietly, so it fights. It throws every fear, every insecurity, every doubt in your path. This isn't punishment. This is a test of sincerity. You must love that voice, not obey it, not argue with it, just love it. Because even your resistance is sacred. Even your fear is part of the path. I remember walking through a forest in northern India barefoot, alone, hungry, confused. I hadn't spoken to anyone in days. Suddenly I heard it, that voice again. "Go home. You've proven enough." It was so convincing I almost turned back. But then, like lightning, a realization struck me. What I was hearing wasn't doubt. It was the echo of the identity I was leaving behind. And just like that, I smiled, not because the pain was gone, but because I recognized it for what it was, a sign, a rare sign. I was close. The third dark sign often emerges in silence, deep, prolonged silence, not just external, but internal. You'll notice something strange. Your thoughts begin to lose their grip. You try to think and nothing arises. Not because your mind is broken, but because it's surrendering. And in that silence, something eerie happens. You may begin to feel like you're disappearing. Not metaphorically, literally. You look in the mirror and don't recognize the eyes staring back. You speak and your voice sounds foreign. You feel like a ghost in your own life. This is ego death in progress. It's not sudden, it comes in waves. One moment you feel timeless, the next you panic. Am I losing my mind? No, my friend, you are losing your false mind. The one trained by society, by trauma, by culture. And yes, it feels like dying, because a version of you is dying. But here's the wisdom. Death and rebirth are not separate events. They are the same breath. Inhale, death. Exhale, rebirth. And in between, the void. The sacred pause. That's where you are right now. But be warned. Don't try to rush through this. Don't try to achieve enlightenment. That's ego in disguise. The fourth dark sign is perhaps the most deceptive: spiritual pride. It creeps in subtly. You think, I've gone further than others. I understand something deeper. And maybe you do. But the moment you identify with that superiority, you've fallen back into illusion. True wisdom is humble. It knows its own smallness. It doesn't need to shout, it simply is. So ask yourself now, do I seek freedom or do I seek to be special? Because those two paths diverge in the forest of awakening. One leads deeper into the mystery, the other leads back to the self-centered dream. Choose carefully. And now we come to the fifth dark sign, the breakdown of time. This one is disorienting. You may begin to feel like days blur together. The past feels like a dream, the future a fog. Even the present moment stretches and warps. You sit in meditation for 10 minutes, but it feels like hours. Or vice versa. Why? Because time is a mental construct, and as your mind dissolves, so does your grip on linearity. This is a sign that you are beginning to live from presence, not from memory or projection. But beware, this can be destabilizing. You might forget what day it is. You might lose track of conversations. This isn't dysfunction, it's recalibration. Your system is rewiring itself to operate from a higher plane. Be patient, be gentle. Drink water, walk barefoot, breathe deeply, ground yourself, or you'll float too far too fast. And here's the sixth dark sign: emotional purging. Out of nowhere, you might find yourself sobbing uncontrollably, or laughing like a madman, or feeling grief so ancient it couldn't possibly be yours. But it is. It's all yours. Lifetimes of suppressed emotions, ancestral wounds, collective pain, surfacing now because you're finally open enough to feel them. Don't resist. Let it pass through. Cry, scream, dance, shake. Cleanse the temple of your body, because only an empty vessel can hold the light. This is not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough, but only if you let it be. And finally, the seventh dark sign, the most secret, the most sacred, the vanishing of desire, not just worldly desires, but even spiritual ones. You no longer crave enlightenment. You no longer chase bliss. You simply are. And in that being, something extraordinary happens. You become empty. And in that emptiness, the Absolute reveals itself. But here's the paradox. You cannot seek this state. The moment you try to hold it, it slips away, like catching air with your hands. It comes when you have nothing left to lose. When your soul whispers, "I am ready to die, even if I never awaken." So tell me, are you ready to die to everything you've ever known? Are you willing to surrender not just your fear, but your hope? Not just your pain, but your longing? Because that's the final threshold. That's where the veil lifts. Breathe, let go. You've come further than most. The Temple of Shadows. Why the final test is loneliness. There comes a moment on every sacred path when silence no longer feels peaceful, when solitude no longer feels serene. It starts quietly, like a soft wind that slowly becomes a storm. You're sitting in meditation or walking alone through nature, and suddenly the air shifts. The world feels distant. People speak, but their words don't reach you, and even your own thoughts feel like echoes in a vast canyon. This, my friend, is the Temple of Shadows. And the final test before the light fully arrives is loneliness. But not the kind of loneliness you've known before. This isn't the sting of missing someone. This is cosmic loneliness, a spiritual isolation that defies words. It's the soul's realization that no one can walk this path for you, that no amount of books, teachers, or lovers can cross this final bridge with you. It's just you and the infinite staring at each other in silence. Have you felt it? That aching emptiness that follows profound moments of awakening? It doesn't make sense, does it? We're told enlightenment will bring peace, joy, connection, and yet, on the edge of it, we feel more alone than ever. Why? Because enlightenment is not a group activity. It's not social. It's not even emotional. It's existential. And nothing exposes your illusions of connection more brutally than the moment spirit removes every crutch and says, "Now, walk alone." You cry out to the universe for a sign, for a voice, for a friend. But the silence is deafening. And that's the test. To remain open when everything within you wants to shut down. To take another step when you can't see the path. To trust that the emptiness is not punishment, but purification. I've sat in that temple. I've wept on its cold stone floors, questioning everything. "Why show me the light only to take it away?" I shouted into the void. And the void answered, not with words, but with stillness so deep it shattered me. And in that shattering, something unexpected happened. I saw clearly for the first time that my loneliness wasn't mine. It was the loneliness of God. Think about it. If God is all that exists, then who does God talk to? Who truly sees the infinite? The answer is no one. And so when you reach the edge of enlightenment, you touch that loneliness. Not yours, but the divine's. And in touching it, you are no longer just a seeker. You become a mirror to the infinite. You become the eyes through which God sees itself. But it's not easy. You'll want to run. You'll want to fill the void again with noise, with people, with purpose. But don't. Stay. Be still. Let the loneliness hollow you out, because what remains after the emptiness is truth. You see, the Temple of Shadows is not a place. It's a stage of becoming, a chamber of initiation, and only those who can sit with the unbearable silence of existence are truly ready to carry the light without being burned by it. So here's the deepest question I can ask you right now. Can you love yourself when there is no one left to applaud you, to understand you, or even to witness you? Can you be enough, not because of what you do, but because of what you are? If you can, you are already free. And maybe that's the secret. Maybe the loneliness isn't a barrier, it's the doorway. Maybe, just maybe, this aching void is sacred space, where the divine strips us of every illusion of separation so that we can finally merge, not with others, but with the truth itself. So if you are in the Temple of Shadows now, don't despair. You are not lost. You are being found. And though no one else may walk this path with you, know this: countless souls throughout time have stood exactly where you stand, and we are all silently cheering you on. You are not alone in your aloneness. We are alone together, and that is holy. The fire beneath the stillness, when pain becomes a portal. There is a moment just after the silence has swallowed your name and the loneliness has carved its initials into your soul, when something unexpected begins to stir. Not peace, not joy, but pain. A deep, unrelenting ache that seems to rise from the bones of your being. It doesn't announce itself politely. It erupts like a volcano beneath the stillness you've worked so hard to cultivate. And in that eruption, you may think, I failed. I must be doing this wrong. Enlightenment isn't supposed to hurt like this. But what if I told you this pain is the doorway? We are taught to run from pain, to numb it, explain it, medicate it, spiritualize it, anything but feel it. But on the path to awakening, pain is not your enemy. Pain is the midwife of your transformation. It's the fire that burns away the last layers of illusion. And the deeper you've got into stillness, the more fiercely the fire will burn. You may find yourself crying without reason, shaking, remembering traumas you thought you had buried forever. You might even start to feel the pain of others, your ancestors, the collective, the earth itself. This is not your mind playing tricks on you. This is your nervous system adjusting to a new frequency. You are becoming a vessel, and the vessel must be cleansed before it can hold the light. The fire beneath the stillness is sacred. It's not punishment, it's purification. I remember one night in particular. I was meditating under the stars, surrounded by silence so absolute it felt like time had stopped. And then, out of nowhere, a wave of grief hit me, so raw, so ancient, I collapsed into the earth. I wept for hours. Not for myself, but for everything. For the wars, the lost children, the forgotten tribes, the forests burning, the oceans crying. I became the grief of the world. And in that unbearable pain, something cracked open. Not in my heart, but through it, a portal. And on the other side of that portal was not despair, but love. Not the romantic kind, not even the spiritual kind, but a love so primal, so vast, it didn't need a name. It simply was. And I understood then that true love is born from true pain, that only when you have felt the suffering of all beings can you begin to love them without condition. So I ask you, What pain are you still running from? What wounds have you labeled as not spiritual enough to bring into the light? Because those wounds are not in the way of your awakening. They are the way. The fire beneath the stillness is not a detour. It's the engine of your rebirth. When you stop resisting it, when you bow to it, it transforms. Fire becomes illumination, pain becomes presence, and presence becomes power. You don't need to be fearless, you need to be willing. You don't need to be perfect, you need to be honest. And honesty means acknowledging that the path to light often passes through the deepest shadows of your own heart. So if you're burning right now, if everything hurts, if it feels like your soul is being turned inside out, good, you're not off track. You're in the sacred furnace. Let it burn, let it purify, let it reveal what cannot be destroyed. Because beneath the fire, beyond the ache, past the ashes, you will find yourself. Not the version you created for the world, but the one who has always been waiting in silence. The one who is not afraid of pain because it was born from it. The sudden light. Why the universe hides the final truth in the last second. There is a peculiar cruelty in the way the universe delivers truth. It waits, it watches, it tests. It burns away your illusions, breaks your attachments, silences your pride, strips you of identity, and leaves you standing naked in the void, just you and your breath, nothing to hold on to. And just when you think you can't go any further, just when you whisper, "I give up," something happens. Something impossible. The light arrives, but not in the way you expected. It does not descend with fireworks or angelic choirs. It does not come with a voice from the clouds or a vision of golden realms. It comes in the smallest way, so small you could miss it. A single breath that feels like eternity. A moment of awareness so pure, so still, so obvious you laugh. Not because something funny happened, but because the truth was always here, hidden in plain sight. This is the final secret. The universe hides the truth not because it is cruel, but because it is loving. It waits until you are empty enough to receive it, until you are humble enough to see what has always been, until you are no longer looking for truth, but from it. And here's the twist: the final truth is not something you find, it's something you become. You realize that you are not a person experiencing the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself through a temporary lens called you. You see that all your suffering, all your longing, all your seeking was the dance of God forgetting and remembering itself. And in that moment of realization, everything shifts. Time dissolves, identity dissolves, even the desire to awaken dissolves. What remains is presence, pure, unshakable presence. You are not in the now, you are the now. And that presence is not passive, it is alive, it is intelligence, it is love. It is everything you've ever searched for and more. Do you understand what this means? It means the final step on the path is not a step at all. It's a surrender, a softening into what already is. And the reason the universe hides this until the last second is because only when you've emptied yourself of every false seeking can you truly receive what cannot be given. Because it was never lost. The light was never missing, you were just looking with eyes that couldn't see. And so the sudden light comes not as a reward, but as a return, a homecoming, a remembering. And in that remembering you realize there is nothing to fix, nothing to reach, nothing to become. Everything is already complete. But here's the final paradox. You still exist. You still walk the world. You still feel emotions, make mistakes, love people, lose them, cry, laugh, age, and die. Enlightenment doesn't remove your humanity, it just removes the illusion that your humanity was ever separate from the divine. So now the question is not, how do I reach the light? The real question is, can I live from it? Can you carry this awareness into your everyday life? Can you drink tea with the same presence you once reserved for meditation? Can you speak to strangers as though you were speaking to yourself in disguise? Can you love, not because you need to, but because love is the only thing left? This is the final gift of awakening, not that you escape the world, but that you return to it, awake, open, and free. And maybe, just maybe, someone will look into your eyes and feel something stir, not because you told them the truth, but because you became it. The light is here, it always was. Your home. Now, what will you do with it?